Hi, and welcome to Herbal Expeditions, where we explore all things gardening, herbs, and aromatherapy. My name is Shonda, and I'm so happy that you're joining me today. For those of you who have visited our channel before, welcome back, and for those who are here for the first time, welcome. Today I have a herbal remedy that is just for you in the cold and flu season. We're going to be making an elderberry syrup. For today's recipe, the ingredients that you will need will be elderberries, cinnamon, ginger, rose hips, marshmallow root, water, honey. Your supplies or equipment that you'll need is a spoon or something for stirring, a soup pot for boiling your ingredients, an amber bottle to put the finished product in, a strainer, a funnel, some cheesecloth, a mallet or something that you can break up the rose hips with if you have whole rose hips. You can choose, they come in different varieties. I have whole ones here today instead of the ones that are chopped, so I'll need that mallet to kind of break those up. So we're going to get started. Your elderberries, they will go into the pot first. Again, that was 2 cups of elderberries. And you want to make sure with the elderberries that you have as few stems as possible. I put in the 2 cups of elderberries here. The elderberries are diaphoretic. They're also really good for helping to reduce fever. On top of the 2 cups of elderberry, we have cinnamon. This cinnamon is a 1/4 cup. Then we have a 1/4 cup of ginger root. The ginger root is a very good stimulant. And as far as the cinnamon is concerned, it helps with congestion, reduce congestion. I have here my marshmallow root. The marshmallow root is a demulcent. It's very moistening, and if you have a cough, that really helps to soothe the cough and a sore throat. And we have the 4 cups of water, but I'm not going to put that in. I'm going to put this to the side for just a moment so that I can go ahead and crush the rose hips. I have a 1/4 cup of rose hips here. And I have just a little sandwich bag, not a sandwich, but a quart size Ziploc bag that I'm going to put the rose hips in since they are whole rose hips. So I am going to kind of crush these so that they can release their herbal goodness into our syrup that broke those up really nicely. Bring this back in view now that I've crushed those rose hips. With all of this, I'm going to go ahead and add my 4 cups of water. And what I will do is I will put this pot on the stove, and I'm going to bring this mixture to a boil. Once it comes to a boil, I will reduce the heat and let it simmer. As it's simmering, I will kind of mash the elderberries so that they can release all of their goodness into this to make a very strong decoction. And a decoction is basically like a tea, where whenever you're using hard things like roots, barks, like the ginger is a root, the cinnamon is a bark, and all of those things are hard surfaces. So in order to get them to release their juices, we're going to allow them to boil and to simmer a while until we reduce our liquid by about half. So I am going to start that with a high heat. As it starts to simmer or starts to boil, I'm going to turn it down so that it can simmer and allow it to continue to boil until it is reduced by about half. In the meantime, as that is getting ready, or as that is reducing, I'm going to go ahead and prepare a label. When that is finished, we're going to measure it to see that we have about 2 cups, and then we're going to use about 2 cups of honey in order to turn it into the syrup. And using the honey will allow that to maintain some shelf stability so that it will not have to be refrigerated because of the sugar that is in the honey. So I'll be back with you in a few moments as soon as this starts to boil. It has been about 30 minutes since we put our decoction on to boil and to simmer, and I think it's reduced to about half, so I'm going to take it off the fire and we're going to go ahead and pour it into this measuring cup so we can see exactly how much liquid we have. I prepared my strainer with some cheesecloth, a couple of layers of cheesecloth, and we'll just see what we're working with. To get that up so it doesn't stain, because one thing about elderberry, it is extremely staining. It will stain your clothes or whatever it gets on. I guess I allowed my syrup to reduce a little bit more than I intended. I should have come out with about 2 cups, but in reality, I have about 1 1/4 cups, and that's the way it goes sometimes. But that being said, I will probably need about a cup of honey. And really, your honey should be added according to your taste. If you don't want it too sweet, you can put half as much, or you can put equal parts. It just really depends on you and how you like your syrup. So I think that I'm going to go somewhere in between. I'm going to use the rest of this honey that I had. This is still fairly warm, so the honey should incorporate nicely into this mixture. Honey has such a nice smell. I enjoy the smell of it. I enjoy its scent, I guess I should say. Let me kind of give that a little stir to incorporate. Set that to the side, and let's get a little bit more. I expect to have about 2 cups, so that would mean that I would put about 3/4 cup of honey, because I started out with 1 1/4 cup initially, my decoction. So go ahead and stir this in until it is well blended, pretty thick still right now. And as this cools, it will become thicker, and so in order to use this as a remedy at the onset of a cold, when you start to feeling a little bit sluggish or you feel like you're becoming sick, you might want to take about 1 teaspoon every 30 to 60 minutes until your symptoms kind of subside. Or this can be taken like a tonic to help with your immune system, to kind of help keep you well during cold and flu season. In that case, you want to take about a tablespoon once a day. I think it's starting to incorporate pretty nicely at this point. I'm going to give it a stir just a little bit more. I want to make sure that all of my honey is very well incorporated. I can still feel a little bit of thickness at the bottom from the honey. Some people choose to put the honey inside of their syrup while it's still on the stove. I choose not to do that because I like to keep all the medicinal products of the local honey that I have, and so I just try to put it to blend it while my syrup is still warm. That way it's not receiving the direct heat of the stove, killing all the medicinal properties of the honey, but it is still warm enough that it will blend nicely. Now for my final step, I will decant my syrup, put it into my jar. There's a little bit of honey that dripped on the side. I'll have to clean that up. Then for my final step, I'm going to prepare a label because I want to make sure that I remember what is in here. I am printing the label. This is a very important step because I can't tell you the number of bottles that I have lying around the house, and I can't remember what's in them because I didn't label them. So if I can encourage you to do one thing, that is to make sure that you place a label on your product. Not exactly straight, but it's on there. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen, elderberry syrup. Thank you for tuning in. Please drop me a comment below. Let me know whether or not you decided to try this elderberry syrup. And if you did, what were your results? Did you like it? Did it seem to be helpful? Drop me a line. Hope to hear from you soon.